let's talk about Billie Eilish. This is interesting because it kind of goes to, when a musician changes their music style and then everybody gets mad because they change their music and everyone thinks that you're supposed to stay the same forever. Well, that's kind of happening with Billie Eilish, only it's happening with her clothing style because they're mad that she's trying to be more feminine in her presentation.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's some imitation of it.
Yeah. She says, I spent the first 5 years of my career getting absolutely obliterated. She should have said excoriated. It would have been way cooler if she had said excoriated. She says, I spent the first 5 years of my career getting absolutely obliterated by you fools for being boyish and dressing how I did and constantly being told I'd be hotter if I acted like a woman. I think there's a fair point to be made here, and I think a lot of people make this mistake. The people that are complaining about this are not the same people that are complaining about. I think those are fundamentally different groups.
Those weren't her fans, that's for sure. I think people defended her a lot for the way that she dressed like Adam Sandler.
And when you get to a certain level of fame, you're just going to have fans that run the gamut of perspectives sometimes. So you're going to get a little bit of pushback no matter what you do. She says, and now when I feel comfortable enough to wear anything remotely feminine or flirting, I changed and I'm a sellout, she lamented, calling out haters who commented on her appearance. What happened to her? This is her saying this. What happened to her? Oh my God, it's not the same Billie. She's just like the rest of them now, blah, 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 blah. You guys are true idiots. I always wonder if they'd be better off just keeping their mouth. Accept that this is part of the job.
She said,
keep your mouth shut.
LOL, I can be both, you effing bozos. Let women exist.
Here comes the hyperbole.
You're denying my existence. Fun fact, did you know that women are multifaceted?
Oh my
Shocking,
God.
right? Believe it or not, women can be interested in multiple things.
Yep.
And this surprised me. She said also that femininity does not equal weakness. OMG, insane, right? Who knew?
Tell that to Hollywood.
And also
Seriously,
totally
tell that to
unheard
Hollywood.
of and insane to want to express yourself differently at different times. That's how she concluded it.
Yep.
I'm surprised that she said that about femininity, but yeah, literally tell it to the people that you work with and not the
I'd
audience.
also we don't know what her definition of femininity is, but whether that means wearing pretty clothes or being nurturing and motherly.
This is what I take issue with. Why is your definition of femininity wearing a corset on the cover of Vogue or showing your tits or showing your body? Why is that what has now been sublimated as femininity these days when it actually should mean something deeper? Right?
Yeah.
It should mean something about your nature. And I do believe that what sex you are born as, even though that is an immutable characteristic, it has the most consequence for how your emotions, your deepest desires, the way you interact with people, the way that you interface with the world. Your sex, whether you're a man or a woman, has the most consequence. It is the most consequential part of your immutable characteristics.
And it will be judged either way.
Yeah, and it will be judged either way.
Here's a point of personal
privilege.
Yes. Well, in a way, right? I made a post, I was talking to someone over the weekend about stoicism and whether it's good to be stoic or not.
As a man? Or in general?
About men, right? And I said, look, there are times where I wish I had the ability to be more stoic and not get as caught up in the way that how I perceive things, right? But do I let that affect whether I see myself as a dude? No, but
sure.
I do understand that there's a spectrum there where you have to worry about how are people going to perceive the way you interpret the world, right? So there is such a thing as guys who are going to be told that you're handling this like a woman. You're being too feminine. You're not being confrontational enough. I'm not complaining about it, though, because it's just part of being a dude. Just like being a woman, you're going to have the same problems where if you're too confrontational, they're going to say, why aren't you being more feminine? Why aren't you doing this? That's just part of being human. In however you were born.
Yeah, if you're, this is just the complexity that is totally missed and goes totally over the heads of our sex confused and sexually broken culture, where we can't even recognize the innate differences between men and women. Yep. Obviously, an extreme masculinity in a woman is a deficiency in a woman, but in a man, it's his strength. Yep. And vice versa, the other way around. Women obviously are attracted more to guys who are nonplussed, who are not risk averse, who are able to be confrontational when it's necessary and take on adversity.
Yeah.
But and they don't like when guys are gossips or obsessed with their appearance and stuff like that. They don't like those characteristics in men, and it's because those are the pitfalls of women. Like, I mean, if a guy is nurturing, of course that's a good thing about him. It's also a traditionally feminine characteristic, and I swear, men and women have more in common than they do have differences.
Yeah. Well, it's just that the differences are so stark and it's what people focus on. I think one of the biggest problems we have these days is like, look, everything that you used to say to complain about the opposite sex was said in a small group of friends or in a journal. Now it's said for everyone to read, and that's what causes all the problems, right? Like, what you say to your small group of girlfriends over a glass of wine is not necessarily something that you would actually say in the company of the opposite sex or maybe men that you were interested in, right? Because you wouldn't want to put that out there, because even though it's something you're feeling, what you feel and what you share with the world, those are distinctions that actually matter, right? You're not always your thoughts. Mm-hmm. I have thoughts all the time that I would never share with the world, not because they're awful, but just because what you choose to share speaks to who you are as a person, because it shows where your discernment lies.
Yeah.
In a way. Also, there was a show called Las Vegas on NBC. It was a very, very cheesy it's like a dad show, right? Starred Josh Duhamel. And there was more honesty about the difference between men and women on that show, I think, than I saw in a lot of television from that time period. Because the things that the women liked about the male characters were absolutely the things that women in the real world like about male characters. There's even one where, like, there's the one character who's like, he's kind of a simp. He's like his ex from college is in town at the casino, and she's talking about her favorite color. She goes like, what do you know her favorite? Like, talking to a girl that he works with. She's like, what do you know her favorite color? Somebody goes, it's blue, actually, cerulean blue. She goes, stop it. Quit being such a woman. Be forgetful, distracted, detached. That's what you men do. And he goes, and you women find that attractive? Yes. For some reason, we love that. Like, that's true. Like, they're being on it. That was the same show where, like, she says, tell us something about the difference between men and women. And Alec Baldwin's character goes, men and women are different. And now you'd say that and people would go up in airs and screech and at the world for saying something so controversial, because Hollywood and media and even the music industry won't let you be honest about how we as men and women are different.
I remember when Billie Eilish made her, I guess, debut as a woman.
The Vogue
She was
cover,
on the
right?
cover of Vogue in this corset. It was like this weird boudoir photo shoot vibe. And a lot of people argued about it, especially because this was a deviation from her, normal style. And I just
happen to have this pulled up for no reason whatsoever
on the company Wi-Fi. I found this photo shoot odd or like jarring, not because it's a way that I haven't seen Billie Eilish before, but because this is the way that Caitlyn Jenner looked on the cover of Vanity Fair with "Call Me Caitlyn." Like, this is the presentation of femininity now. Yeah, that's why I found it weird.
$20 one right there.
Deuce Boogaloo said, I'm fully supportive of Billie Eilish expressing her femininity. Low key, oinga boinga, awooga.
Awooga.
Yeah, like, obviously she's an attractive young woman and didn't take advantage of her sexuality for a long time when she could have.
But this goes to every band that ever decides to change their music and then they get called a sellout.
I found that Vogue photo shoot very weird because it was attempting to be sexually charged, attempting to appear sensual or sultry, and totally missed the mark. And I can't articulate exactly why. It's
the
like
black is certainly her color.
It's like sexiness, but siphoned of all libido and like I don't know. Like, it's hard to explain, but do you get what I'm getting
her
at?
Her personality doesn't match it.
Right, exactly. It's not her.
It's like,
it felt false.
Rephrase this. If you knew nothing about Billie Eilish and saw this photo shoot, would you think differently?
If you like had this picture in your wallet when you're at war, and this is your wife that you left behind,
then
sure.
Then let's go.
Most beautiful woman to have ever lived. So feminine. But
that's what I'm saying. Like,
this is some like weird imitation or like amalgamation of a bunch of, it's like almost like AI generated. It's like
AI generated femininity.
It's like thousands of different inputs kind of just mashed together to approximate femininity.
I remember when
or sexiness, and it didn't work.
Nelly Furtado started making like regular pop music, and I was like, they got to her. Like she just had to, like she kind of made more, when she started, she made like Jewel-esque folk type pop music, and then like started making music with Timbaland, and it was very much the boilerplate typical pop music, and that's what this felt like to me. Like, it's like eventually the industry always comes for you, and eventually you will always use your feminine wiles to market at a certain point. Even if you started your career as the anti that, it's kind of like the girls who start out at Disney. They're expected to go through their bad girl phase.
Sure. And I also remember before Billie Eilish dressed in a revealing way, people would circulate all of the photos they could where her body was revealed in some way, or like they did a countdown to when she turned 18. Like, that is weird, and it's not something that's changed at all since it was done to the Olsen twins, no matter how much we fool ourselves to think that society has progressed in any way. And I totally understand from her perspective why she has retreated from femininity and using her sexuality in a way. And I understand that impulse from a lot of girls who aren't nearly in the same position in the public eye. Why are so many women, especially young, like teenage girls, falling for the gender ideology crap? Why are they going by they, them and appearing androgynous? Well, they're retreating from this expectation of femininity that has been pushed on them that has nothing to do with any of your innate characteristics as a woman, and has everything to do with like hypersexuality and pornified caricatures.
Not to mention, not just shied away from it, but actively refuses to encourage.
I mean, we know that this is a trauma response to de-feminize yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing. Yeah. And I don't doubt that that's part of why Billie Eilish dressed so like butch for so long.
Chat GPT femininity. Yeah.
It literally is it feels computer generated.
They're like, can you give me a picture of Billie Eilish? Like, if before Billie Eilish had done this, they went to Chat GPT and were like, can you show me Billie Eilish but in the setting of a boudoir photo shoot? And Chat GPT was like, I can do that.
It's almost like a face swap.
Yeah.
It could have been anybody.
And also, people like in the chat, the countdown to 18 was a thing back in like MTV days.
It's
like,
still a thing.
Culture.
Maybe MTV isn't the one doing it, but it's still a thing.
Yeah, and like it just feels like it's her. Maybe it's because like her music was less important to her success than her unique.
Her aesthetic.
Her unique aesthetic. So if it was her music that was the really, really big part of her success, then a change in her music style would be what was talked about. But since her aesthetic played such a huge role in what made her who she is, then that's what becomes the focus when you change it all. But I get it, because on one hand, you don't want to be tight. Like, first of all, you're never going to make everyone happy. People are going to turn on you no matter what. I guarantee you, somebody in this chat right now is like, those PCC hosts said something I didn't like, I'm out of here. Like, you can't live entirely for the people that support you, because it's fickle and it's fleeting and it goes very, very quickly. At a certain point, you have to revert back to just, I want to be who I want to be. And that's just the way it is. And if she wants to change, if it's not the industry telling her to do it, and it's actually what she wants, then fine.
I remember no such outrage when it came to the musical evolution of Taylor Swift, when she goes from a country artist to a mainstream pop artist.
It was more gradual, wasn't it? Like over time. And like that was at a time when, oddly enough, pop country wasn't as common as it is now. Now pop country is all the rage. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.